We all know that North Myrtle Beach is the place to be if you want to experience our state dance, shag. And we all know that before 1968, the name North Myrtle Beach didn't even exist. But here are some facts I bet you didn't know.
My first remembrance of North Myrtle Beach would be, I was in the first grade, I think. My grandparents had a restaurant at North Myrtle Beach at Ocean Drive on Main Street. And we were living in Wilmington, North Carolina. It was the latter part of the Second World War. And I remember coming down from Leland, and in my mind's eye, it was 100 miles away. It was just forever. But we would come down to visit my grandparents. I remember walking to the beach. And at that time, it seems in my mind's eye, we had more beach than what we have, because once we got on the beach, it was forever till you got to the water. And that was some of my very first memories, was going into the theater at Ocean Drive. It did not have air conditioning, it had fans. And on the screen side, it was low, very low. So we would sit on the front row and put our feet in the water to keep us cool. We sneaked in the back door so we wouldn't have to pay.
There was an element of people that would come down from time to time that, and we would call them quote unquote just gamblers. They'd be from North Carolina and South Carolina and other places. They would come down and we had a penthouse at the motel. It was 4-bedroom and 4-bath. So had a large common area, had a kitchen in it, et cetera, et cetera. And this one particular guy, and I can't name a name, but he don't live here anymore. He's still living, but he don't live here anymore. He would come down and they would play cards like all night. They would get my bellman to come in, and they would just kind of be servants for them for, you know, the night. Then they'd go out on the golf course. A lot of times they would just go out and they would close the golf course for them, maybe in the afternoon or something. Go out. They might be 20 or 30 of them. And although I never did see it, but I understand that we're playing for real big money, thousands of dollars, so it's been told to me. And you had a lot of people that would play, and then you'd have a lot of people that would just ride on carts, but everybody was sort of betting on it. So it was, I don't mean it went on every day, but it did go on for probably 3 or 4 years.
This was a little square building on the corner that had 3 sides of it. You actually opened up the sides and you served from there. There was no booths at the time. Like I say, it was right on the corner of Roberts Pavilion. And so my dad decided, well, you know, that sounds like a pretty good idea. So we would move to the beach in the summer times, beginning in 1948. And he would bring with him cousins, Carlisle boys. We would have a list every year. Everybody wanted to come to the beach. What better way to do than come to Ocean Drive for 3 months in the summer to flirt with the girls and enjoy the beach. They weren't paid much. They were fed good. My mother cooked good for them. And of course, we ran the grill, which you couldn't do today because your hours were different. Most of the time, Mother and Dad would open up the grill in the morning and for him to meet the vendors as they came by to restock. A couple of guys would come in around lunchtime to handle the lunch rush. Then they'd be off in the afternoon to go out on the beach and flirt with the girls. Then a couple of us would come back in around 5 or 6 to kind of get the little supper rush. And then they'd get off about 8 and go back up on the pavilion and flirt with the girls and come back into work about 11 o'clock at night. And then they would stay at work until whatever time we closed, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Of course, this was a little hot dog stand really to begin with, because in 1948, there was no such thing as a hamburger on the beach. Nobody had a hamburger.
My father was Charles Chestnut. He owned Chestnut Gulf, which was located out by the old swing bridge. And it was a full service station. It was the time when you pulled up to the pump and someone came up and pumped your gas for you and washed your windshield and checked your oil. He was an excellent mechanic. I remember hearing my mother say that she has seen him in a white dress shirt roll up his sleeves and work under the hood of a car for hours and come out not a spot on his clothes. He also opened Chestnut Motors, which was the Studebaker dealership right beside the service station. Studebakers were real popular during that time, and believe it or not, being a man in the gas business and the automobile business, he always ran his car on empty. And I remember as a child, we were leaving the house and got maybe several blocks down the street from home, and we ran out of gas. And I was probably, I guess 5, and I said, "You're going to carry me home?" Because my mama told you you were going to run out of gas. So he wasn't in the automobile business very long, but I think it was good while it lasted.
Well, Lynn's Auto Parts, like I say, Nixon Crossroads on Highway 17. The only way to get to North Myrtle Beach, Cherry Grove, you had to come on either Highway 17 or Business 9. I call it was 9 then. You come in on 9 or 17 and come back to Drawbridge. Well, I have sit in the store and watched the traffic on 17 backed up all the way to the state line, backed up the other way almost to Longs. And back in '64, cars back then didn't have no air conditioning. If you had air conditioning, you had money. But most of your cars didn't have air conditioning, wasn't standard equipment on the car. And that long line of traffic, I can remember seeing, well, everything you can imagine we have seen in that line of traffic. Cars running hot, water hoses blowing out, babies crying, changing diapers, sitting in that hot sun, 98 degrees, couples getting in arguments, fussing, radios blaring, people getting out of the car looking to see what the traffic jam was. Well, you couldn't change that. I mean, you can't close that bridge. It don't close until the boat passes through. And the other people sitting there waiting, they want to get pumped up to go to the beach. But that was one thing at Lynn's Auto Parts I remember is seeing all that.
Gene King was the manager of the North Myrtle Beach office. Back then we were one chamber, but Gene King was the manager of the North Myrtle Beach branch. I really don't know how she came up with this brainstorm, but she got everybody involved. As I said, Brian Floyd was the mayor. He went on these tours. Doug Wendell was the city manager. He went on these tours. I went. Just the word went out, and if you wanted to go, you went. You paid your own way. And we had, we were stocked with brochures, and as I say, Blakeney and Harry sponsored me, so I was loaded down with their advertisements. And what she would do is she contacted the chamber in the towns we were to visit, and they invited the people. I remember in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, one year, we were all given honorary membership to the city or key to the city. It was just such great fellowship and friendship. And we just told them about the beach. We did have some golf courses back then. We told them about the golf courses, not as many as we do now, but just the entertainment options that were open to them, the accommodations, the restaurants.
Back there then, you could do a little bit of courting, but you had to walk. You didn't have no vehicle. And you go to your house party. Of course, you know, house parties back then, they had a chaperone. Most of them had 2 or 3 elderly ladies. And they were so strict. They were very strict, and you had to, you could pull the wool over the eyes sometimes. You could sort of slip around, and then you could sort of get to know the ladies pretty good, the elderly ladies. And I thought at that time they were elderly, but they weren't as old as I am now. But you could sort of pull the wool over the eyes. You could get to know them good and sweet talk them, and you'd have them eating out of your hand or something or another. And you could sort of slip around maybe to the back room somewhere or another, or out on the back steps, and if the house was on steps, up under the house, or just somewhere like that. Most of them houses had showers up under the house and stuff. But, and then when I later on got a car down on, I believe I can't remember, it's off of 11th Avenue, but there's a lake down there called Half Moon Lake. And that was Lover's Lane. I mean, it was a place where everybody went. See, right there about 11th Avenue, the boulevard was single lane, or double lane. Then about 11th Avenue, it got to be the boulevard got to be double lane, and they called that the Orange Blossom Special right there. And then you go up there to Half Moon Lake. That's where the Lover's Lane was at, and that's where everybody went and parked around the lake.
So as you can see, we're hard at work documenting history for the future North Myrtle Beach Area Historical Museum. And here's one more fact: we need you. Come join us in our effort to preserve North Myrtle Beach area history.